Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for turning out on a Saturday evening. I'm Jaskira, the operations lead here at Google DSC Monash University. Um, I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognize their continuing connection to land, waters, and culture. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. In the simplest of terms, developer student clubs are community-based university groups for students interested in Google developer technologies. By joining a DSC, students grow their knowledge in a peer-to-peer learning environment and build solutions for their community and businesses. Um, Today we have Mohit. He's the current DSC lead here at Monash University. He's also the DevOps engineer at Space Services Australia. That's about it from my side now. I'll hand it over to Mohit.
Thank you, Jaskir. Hey, everyone. How's it going? I hope everyone good.
Yeah, you're good. How are you?
Yep.
Good. Okay, so basically this workshop is going to be focused on to creating a repository in the GitHub. Then we're just going to config the usernames and everything. Then we're going to create some folders, and then I'm going to show you like how to push, pull, create branches, git logs, and bunch of other things. Even I assume like by the end of this particular workshop, you will get overall sense why we have to use Git or any storing repository like GitHub, Bitbucket, AWS code repository, or GitLab, why we need these things in to survive in the ID, to be honest, in terms of if you are a developer. Okay, so I'm just going to create a test DSC bucket right now. And whenever you if you don't have the GitHub account, then you can just sign up on the github.com, and then you will have go to create over here. You will get an option about, let me minimize this thing. Okay. Yeah. So now you can create a new repository, import a repository if you want. So I'm just going to create a new repository with the name test DSC, and it's up to you like whether you want to provide some description or not. I'm just going to provide the description. This is the demo test DSC repo, and then you have an option about selecting the public or private. I'm just going to make it public because it's just for the demonstration right now. Now whenever you creating a new repository in GitHub, it's give you the option of selecting you can add a readme file. Readme file is basically the file which is actually used to provide the long description about what this repository is all about. If you are building any kind of a project, you want to provide the description, so we add with the inside the readme file so that the user actually or the any customer or the people actually can see what's this whole repository all about. And the Git Ignore file, you can add the Git Ignore file. I'm going to talk about Git Ignore file later on when I'm going to show you through the terminal. So just leave this thing aside right now. And you can have to, if you want, like you can choose a different license option like a journal public license, Apache license. It based on what software or what kind of a project you are selling to the world. Okay, so I'm not choosing anything right now. I'm just going to create a very simple repository with the name test DSC. Okay, so now you can see on my screen, like we have created the initialized, like we have just created the test DSC repository. Now GitHub give us the two option if you want to work with the terminal, like if you want to clone the repository. Cloning means is like you are copy the repository into your local directory, into your local system, so that you can work on your local system. And later on, if you make some changes, you can push it back to the server such as GitHub. So here we have two options. One is the HTTPS and another one is the secure shell. The main difference between two of them, the HTTPS is like every time if you're going to push anything or pull anything, you have to provide your credentials. With the secure shell, most of the time it works on the TCP connections with the port 22. And if you have already provided your SSH keys inside the settings, I'm not going inside that part right now. So I'm just going to, just the main difference you just understand, like with the SSH, if you're just going to copy the SSH one, and if I show you my directory, so let me just create new directory called DS. Okay, I'm going inside DS now. Let me clear my screen, and I'm now just going to copy the git clone. Since I'm using the SSH here, I don't need to provide like my credentials because I already configure the credentials inside my this. So now if you see, I have already cloned the test DSC, and if I'm just going to see ls-lh, I'm using the Ubuntu right now on my local system. But if you are a Windows user, you can copy the same command. Is everything is going to work. But if you are using the Git bash, but if you're using the CMD, then the command's going to be very much different. For a case of a Mac people, you have the Unix kind of a system, so all the commands are same for you. So now I'm just going to go inside the test DSC. Let me clear my screen again. And now if we just, and ls-lh command is nothing. It just, ls stands for the list, listing the objects or the files or the directories. And then I'm just providing with the -lh, which stands for the long format, like what permissions we are providing to the users, groups, or the others. And then I'm providing the hidden directory. So if I'm just going to be go inside like any, whenever you initialize any GitHub repository or a local repository with the git init command, it's actually create a .git folder inside your hidden directory. It's a hidden directory. If I'm just going to type like ls, there is no file there. But if I'm just going to type ls-lh, it's going to show me the hidden directory, which is the .git. By default, in the .git file, there are some several folders and files are there. I'm just going to show you like what these files actually represent. So now you can see whenever, so currently what we done, we just created a repository on the GitHub server. And then from that, we just using the SSH secure shell, we clone the repository to our local system. And then we are currently inside that local directory of that particular repository. And now we can see there is nothing inside, there is no files, nothing apart from the .git hidden folder. And inside this Git hidden folder, we have several directories and the files. So these are all three files, and these are the directories. The D stands for the directories, and if you don't see the D, that means it's only the files. Okay. And since we didn't provide anything, so if I'm go inside the branches, it's currently empty. There is nothing inside. Similarly, so whenever what this it stands for, like it's kind of a database for the Git. So every time you run any command on Git, like Git add, Git init, Git push, everything going to be triggered here. Now how it's going to be triggered? That question arises here, like how it's going to be triggered when I'm like, if I'm just going to run git add command, which I'm going to show you, but how it's actually, how GitHub or a Git command actually knows that I'm running this command. It's actually through the hooks. So if you go to the hooks, there is some pre-built scripts are written already inside there. So these are the scripts which are pre-built, so through which it's actually triggered. And I'm just going to show you one of the script right now. I'm not going deep inside like what the script is actually doing. So this is a, you can see this is a hook script, which is actually at the time of committing, git commit. It just to show you like where all the branches, heads, and everything is stored inside the .git hidden folder. Okay. So you can see here. So these are all the pre-default, like by default, these are the folders created inside the .git. Okay, let me just come out, and we have nothing right now. Okay, okay, so let's just create one file called the test DSC. Okay, I'm just creating a, this is a Google DSC file. Okay, so now if we see ls-lha, so you can see there is a one file test DSC inside me. Now I have added this file but this file is actually present inside my local PC. It's not on the GitHub, because if I'm just going to see here and reload the page, there is nothing there. It's empty right now. So first of all, how things works in the GitHub is like with the git command is that. So now we have added the file. So let's just check the status. Let's see the status. Oh, so we can see here that we have the status. It's saying about the untracked file. So Git is so smart. It's actually automatically it's track out like there is some file you have added. So this file is currently untracked. So how we will going to add? It's using the git add command. Uh, Maybe you have if you use Git earlier and before, maybe you see most of the developers actually use the git.add command. The git.add command, never suggest use this command, because using this, you are saying that you want to add every file in that particular folder, which is really, really not good. Because, for example, you are working in a company and you are a, for example, you're a Python developer, you're writing some scripts, but some of the script is not even finished, and some another developer or maybe the uh, web developer wants to see something what you have done in the past. So if you're not finished the script, there is no point of providing that to the GitHub, right? So due to this reason, it is always recommended just add the particular folders or the files you need to add. Don't add everything. It is not required. Okay. So I'm just going to add the test DSC file. Now the file has been added. Now, if I'm going to check the status, it's going to be green. So previously, Git tell me that there is a untracked file has been recognized by the system. This file name is the test DSC file, which I just created earlier, because the earlier the repository is empty. Okay, so now I added the file with the tag called like the git add the test DSC. Now the file has been added. Now if I'm check the status, it's saying the Git has already make a untracked file to the staging area. Staging area is nothing. Just assume like it's follow up the path. Like initially you have create a file. That file is in untracked uh, area. It is not being tracked by anything. Then when you add that particular file, then it's go to the staging area. And from that staging area, you have to commit. And Git is smart enough, like it's going to provide you the command what you have to add. Like for untracked file, Git already recognized there is an untracked file. So it gives you the use git add command. So that if you forget like what command I have to run, you can easily check it from the git add command. Okay, and now here I already add the file. Now I already check the status. So now I'm just going to commit. Commit is like you are telling the users or the your organizations or the company's people what this file is all about, like what is actually contained. So I'm just going to say this is a test version of DSC file I added, because this message is actually seen by the developers who's also collaborating with you on the GitHub repository. So now if I'm just going to commit, it's actually committed. And now there are some other things I'll just want to point it out. So if you see here, it also mentioned about the Git master. What is master? We don't even know right now. So let's just go back to the repository. So if you like, okay, it's not going to show you here. Okay. So there is a command called git config. I don't know what this command going to do. So I'm just going to type -h, which actually show me what this command is actually all about. So basically git config command is all about like to see the configurations about your system. I already configured everything for you guys so that I don't have to waste times in setting up everything. So we are currently in the test DSC folder inside my local PC. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to run git config hyphen global. What is a global? Global is stands for the global config file. There are two different files. Either you can have one file for the overall system of your PC that everywhere you want to go, you will run the same credentials, or you can just run from the normal local directory. So I'm just going to show you both of them. What's the main difference and why we need to use them. Now, for example, I'm the developer, I'm working in the company, and I have several GitHub projects on different clients. So what I want, like, I don't want to share the same global my credentials to everyone. What I mean by this, I'm just going to show you right now. Even if I don't put this thing, I don't put any config file location, it's automatically going to be by default, it's going to be global. I'm just going to provide the action. What action I want to provide? The list all. I just want to see what config list I have. So you can see here, it's actually show you my name, email ID, sign in, editor. I already configured, but if you never done, if you're installed for the first time, you don't see all of them in your Git config file. And if you also notice here, my name is actually saying about my email ID. That's incorrect, to be honest. But this is a global file, and now I'm working inside this directory. So I want like better, it's better if I just configured here locally, so that whatever the changes I'm making, it's particularly going to be fixed with this repository. It's not going to be reflected on global. What I mean by this, so first of all, we run the git config, then we're going to provide the action. Before the action, we're going to see what's the config file location, which is the local. So I'm just going to provide local, and then I'm just going to list, I'm just going to use the user dot name equal to Mohit. There is no equal to, my mistake. Okay. So now I have added this thing. So if I'm just going to provide the hyphen hyphen local and L to list my changes, now you can see my username dot name is Mohit. So what is mean is that every time if I'm going to make any commit, push, pull, if I make any changes, if I do any tagging, rebasings, anything, if I'm going to do, it's going to reflect Mohit's name on the particular this folder, because now this folder is going to be configured with user.name Mohit only. It's not going to work with it's not going to show you my email ID on my name, which is actually a global variable. Now this is a local variable, which is going to work if I'm working inside this directory, which is the test DSC. I hope this part is clear. So what we are doing earlier. Oh, okay. Yeah. So uh, we already made the commit. If you remember, let me show you where I made the commit here. So we already made the commit, and I already show you, like, if you wanna see anything about like what changes you have made or everything. So now what we're going to do, uh, so let first check about the branches with the name Git branch. Also, like, if you are using the Git bash or the Mac normal terminal, or if you install like the Git bash, if you're not using the Git desktop, then you can just run the man Git command, which actually stands for the manual of the Git. It's actually going to show you like what's the whole Git is all about. You can learn about more about the Git, what actually, how much powerful Git it is. Okay. So now I'm just going to come back. So let me just clear my screen. Let's just check about the branches first. Like, so I don't know even about like this branch, what's the feature it has. So I'm just going to see right now. So there is so many feature, like I have like the with the verbose to see about like the hash number, subjects, give twice for the upstream branch. There's so many things I don't even know like about. So let's just run git branch. So you see, like right now we only have one branch which is a name called master. If you don't know about this command, you even if you run like git status, it's actually going to points to you the master branch, because it, even if you see here, it's saying on branch master. Currently we are on master. So now we know that we only have one branch, and now, okay, now we have one branch. So when you, in order, whatever the changes you have make in your local repository, now you want to push it back to the GitHub repository, which is the server. And assume there are like 10, 15, 500 developers working on the same repository, where they are having different roles. They are working on particular branches and everything. So I'm just going to push. Now with the git push command, you have the two options, either to provide the origin as well as the master. What is the origin? I'm just going to show you. Uh, I think it's above here as well. Wait, let me just run git config local -l. -l is just for list all of the features. And this is the, if you see, if you remember at the starting point, we provide the secure shell about this one. So this is the remote origin of us. The reason why I use the SSH, I'm telling you again, so that I don't need to enter every time my credentials, like my username and password, whenever I'm going to push anything to the GitHub server. That's the reason I just do it. Since we don't have any branch and we are in the master branch, so you have to push anything to the actual, now you have made the changes to the local repository, and inside a local repository, all we have is one simple file, which is the test DSC file. Inside the test DSC file, we have, this is a Google DSC file. That's it. We have nothing much. Okay. So now what will I'm going to do? I'm just going to push this thing to this server. Now you have two options to push it. Either you will going to say about git push, and after the push, you will going to provide the link of the remote origin. Since my remote origin is already set to the git@github, this one, the whole URL. So I don't need to provide that thing. And the master is stand out for the which branch are you from. Since currently I'm already in the master and it's already set the origin. Even if you're going to write git push, it's going to work. We don't need to provide the whole thing like the git push origin master. This is the another way of saying anything. Okay, superb. Like we already pushed something to the GitHub now. So now you can see this is the, now the one which we have provided the information on the commit message. If you remember, this is the same message it's showing us here, that this is the version of the DSC file we just added. Okay. And you can see the same descriptions about here, what this file is actually about. And once I'm going to add more files, I'm going to repeat the same terms and concepts which I'm going to use. Okay, so this is the master branch. And before I start talking about the different branches, let's just create some more folders here. Okay, so let me just create a one folder called scripts. So I have created the script folder here. You can see the earlier in our local repository, there is only the test DSC file. Now I have created the script folder. Okay, so if I'm just going to check the status, why Git didn't recognize the script folder. If anyone know the reason, it's good. Otherwise, I'll tell you. It's basically, if you create an empty folder, Git never going to show you that you have created the folder. If until unless you put something inside that folder. Once you get going to add something inside that particular folder, it's going to be recognized by Git. So let's just go to the script folder. Let me clear my screen so that you can see it from up. Okay. So I'm just going to create a script called server startup. I have already copied some of the scripts. You don't need to worry about like what the scripts are doing or anything. Where is my notepad? Okay. Okay. So VI stands for the Vim Editor. If you are literally have no idea what is this, it's basically like a Notepad++ for the Windows user. Similarly, in Ubuntu, you don't have the text editors. So people usually use like the Vim or Nano editor. It's simply like a Notepad++ or Notepad. So I'm just going to open, I'm just going to copy paste the server's details. Okay. And I'm just going to save it. So now we have this server start file inside the script. Now, if I'm going to check the Git status, Git will going to give me the message there is an untracked file in the local system. So you can see it shows us the /. What does it mean is that it's saying there is a one untracked file inside this directory, where the dot stands for the current directory. So if you are not getting familiar like why it's showing like this, so if you go back and now you run the git status command again, it's going to show you the script folder. Earlier, previously, it was rather than script, it's just show you the dot. Dot stands for the current folder. All the Unix based systems works like this. So if you not have any familiarity between like these things, so I'm just telling you, in any Linux based system, if you see dot, even in Mac, it actually represents for the current folder. So now we can see there is an untracked file. How to add this file? Git already provide me the how to add it. So I don't need to remember the command. So I'm just going to add Git script. Now it's up to me. I want to add everything from the script folder, or it's up to me like if I want to add a specific file. I don't want to add everything. So let me just show you. Let me just go back and create put some more scripts inside. Okay. So currently, if you see, there is only one script which is called the server start. So now what I'm going to create, I'm going to create one more script, server stop. Okay. And I'm just going to copy from here what the script is doing. You don't need to worry about like what the scripts are. It's not about the scripting language today. Okay. So now, if any point, like if you guys unfamiliar with any concept, please speak up because I cannot see any of your screens or your faces right now because of my screen. Okay. So currently, we have now two files. You can see one is the server start and one is the server stop. Okay, but uh, if I'm just going to see the Git status, it's again going to show you like this, which maybe I'm assuming if you are a window user, for you it's like why it's not showing me the files names. So let me just go out and again run the Git status. Now it's look better like if you know, okay, there is a script folder. Inside the script folders, there are two files, which has been added by me. Okay, so let's just, uh, sorry, clear. And now if I'm just going to add, first let me show you again. So there are two files and there is on the Git status, we have the script folder. So Git already provide me the adding command. So I'm just going to add with the script folder, but I'm just going to interested in providing the server start file. I'm not interested in providing the server stop file because I didn't finish the script yet. So if I didn't finish the script, what's the point of pushing to the GitHub? So that's the reason I'm saying don't use the dot command like to add everything. There is no point. Like if you are working on something, you literally don't want to put to the server until it is finished, right? So I'm just going to add this command right now. So now I have added this thing. Uh, so I added this command. Now if I see, so now we have one more feature is added. So we can see we are on the master branch. It's saying about your branch is up to date with the origin master. Then it's talking about there is a file which is moved from untracked area to the staging area. But from staging area, you have to commit. If you don't commit, it's not going to be push it to the server, which is in our case is a GitHub. And the GitHub is not owned by Git. So Git and GitHub is a completely different companies. Make sure you have no doubt on these things. Git is a actually owned by Linux people, and this is the people who created the Git. But now Git is actually compatible more with GitHub, GitLab, AWS code repository, Bitbucket from Atlassian. So there are so many options you have. These are only for like storing your code, or you want to publish some application, deploy some application. Okay, so now you can see we created two files in the script folder. One is the start server, one is the server stop. But currently I just want to provide other developers who's working on the same GitHub repository, this one. Let me minimize this. So assume like there are so many developers who's working on this one, but I just want to provide them the start server script because I didn't finish up my second server script. Okay, so let's just come back. That's the reason I just added this one. And now I'm just going to commit it. If you didn't commit, you cannot push it. Always remember these things. With the git commit, if you're not sure, just type -s. You will going to see a bunch of options you have. So I'm just going to commit with the -m. If you're not sure what a -m stands for, you can look around somewhere. Okay, I found here, which stands for the commit message. Okay, so now I know it stands for the commit message. So what will I going to say? Okay, I know. Okay, so added the start server script. We don't need to worry about like what's this script is doing. We just adding the scripts so that the people actually know, other developers know like what is script is all about. Okay, so now we have done everything. Commit is done. Since we are on the master branch, so last time I just used the git push. This time I'm just going to show you the git master push. Both commands are same if you are running or pushing something from the master branch, because everything is already set. So both command is going to work. You don't need to worry about like I assume like if you can run only the git push command, why you want to add like the git push origin master? Okay, so now let's just refresh and see. So now we can see like there is a script folder added into the server start. Okay, and now before I move to the branch thing, I want to show you something with the git logs. Now where if you remember earlier, we used the local hyphen L to provide the name, which is Mohit. And this is only work with this directory when I was doing any pushing or something. The reason why this is nothing related to your GitHub or something, it's actually saying at the time of commit. Now where you will going to actually see these things. So if you type git log command, which is actually contains show you the past logs of your GitHub repository. So you can see there is only two of the logs I have. One log is the test version of the DSC file I added, and second one is the added the start server script. This is the start server script. So now if you notice, like I provided the user.name Mohit, that's the reason it's saying author name is Mohit. If I didn't provide the local system here with the local one, earlier I used the use hyphen local, then user.name Mohit. If I didn't provide local, it's going to be provide Mohit Sharma at the red cloud, because if you notice my again this thing, my name is actually here is the email ID. So if I didn't provide this feature with the use locals tag, it's actually going to show you like author Sharma at the rate iCloud, then Sharma at the rate iCloud. Okay, I hope that part is clear, but I'm just going to talk about more about the Git log. So basically now you know what is your log history. Log history is all about like what you have inside this particular logs. And now you can see there is a one big message number that's called the hash value or the hash code. You don't need to know about like what this value is actually doing. It's just a reference number, you can assume. And you can see there is a head. What is head, by the way? If you remember, when we clone the empty repository from GitHub to the local system, we have the .git hidden folder created by the GitHub or by the Git itself. We didn't create this folder, and inside this folder there is a head folder as well. I'm just going to show you again. So you see there is a some more files are added automatically as we are creating something or doing something in this test DSC folder. And now if you see there is a head file here as well. This is the same file, and this is the if you are know coming from any background like programming background, especially from C++ or Java, you understand one thing, like there is a pointer concept. Similarly, we have the pointer concept in the Git as well. What this is mean is that the head is actually, just assume head is a pointer, which is where it is pointing right now. So head is actually pointing to the master branch. Master is nothing, it's our branch where it is pointing to. That's what is telling us. And it's also talking about like author description, who the person actually commit this thing, and what date and time, and what commit message he provided. Similarly for the second thing. So currently the head is pointing to the master. Okay. Okay, I think that's good. If I forget anything, no, I don't think so. I forget anything. Okay, so let's just type the Git branch, which I show you earlier as well, which stands for the master branch, and we don't have any more branch. And we have noticed. Okay, let me just go back and run the same command. So we have noticed that we have created a test DSC file and the script file. Okay, now assume that I'm not the only developer. There is DevOps engineer came came into the play now. Okay, now there is a DevOps engineer, and I'm the DevOps engineer who's working. I clone everything. I saw that Mohit push something. He created some script in the master branch, but before doing something, building any server or deploying them in the cloud, maybe on AWS or Google Cloud or Azure. So I want to create a new branch where I'm going to work now. Okay, so how to create a new branch? There's so many options you can create, but the simple option is with the Git branch, and then you have to provide the branch name. I'm just going to provide with the name deploy. Okay, how do I know like there is a branch created? Okay, so if I run the same command again, the git branch, is it going to show? Yes, it is showing us now, but this is so much like less information. You don't even get it. Like you're just showing us like master and deploy. What about the other information? So any point I tell earlier as well, like if you are not sure what this command is doing, just type -h or read the manual by typing man git. It's actually going to open the manual, or you can just type the command name and then -help. It's also going to show you what this particular command is capable of doing. Or you can just type -h as well. It's going to work fine, like just to see like short description. So I just want to show about the hash value as well as the subjects. So let me clear my screen. Git branch and -v. So now you can see it's showing us about some hash values and the last commit message which I provided by Mohit. Now I can see there is a pointer. This pointer is the head, which I showed you earlier, and it is pointing to the master branch right now. But I want to work on my deploy branch, because the reason why we need different branches is that when you have like different branches and okay, I'll just going to explain you from here. The reason why we need a different branch is that suppose if you have like so many different branches, let me just see if I have some of the projects. So just give me 1 second. I just want to show you like so that you get an idea like what these different branches are doing. Okay, I think code pipeline. Okay, I believe, okay, I only have one. Wow. Okay, just give me 1 second. Maybe in the EC2, I have 2 different branches. Okay, yep. So here, if you notice, like I don't have any master branch, because you can also from, if you have the version, this one, if you check the Git version, if your version is above 2.28, Git provide this feature to change your by default branch name. Because if you type config-l, it's actually by default name of your branch is actually the master branch. But you can change this branch name by from this tag. There is one tag called init default branch, which you can actually change it by yourself. You don't need to worry about like why I need to always consider master branch. So if you're using version 2.28, I currently have like in my system, it's a 2.29. So any version which is above than 2.28, you can actually easily change your main master branch to any name, if whatever you want to do. Okay, so I just want to show you like what's the main reason of using the different branch. So for example, this is a project I'm working on, and there are some of the DevOps people. There are some data scientists who's working on the data side. DevOps people are working on creating some pipelines, and everything is going to be the main branch is the head branch, where everything is going to be after testing the branches, every code is working fine. After integration, everything is working fine. Then we're going to move to the main branch or the master branch. Why we going to consider one branch as the high branch as compared to other branch? The reason is GitHub actually gives you a lot of features. Not only this, like if you are familiar with some of the tools, like why we have to create a different branch like Jenkins or something. So Jenkins is a CI/CD tool. So what you actually do with the Jenkins is like you create your pipeline, and with your pipeline is like you have written your own script, and from that script you're going to configure the main branch of your GitHub repository. So any developer who's going to, for example, who's working on EC2 branch or who's working on any other different branch, and it's going to be like, once they're working on this EC2 branch and then they put something to the main branch, anything is going to be added to the main branch. It's going to be triggered by Jenkins if you write any script. And from that script, you can actually deploy your application in the cloud. That's how the actual continuous integration and continuous development things works. Now you can ask me questions like how Jenkins is going to be triggered with these things. I'm not going too detail. I'm just going to show you one thing with the hooks thing. In the each repository, you have the webhooks options. Here you can create your own webhook where you can just going to provide your secret URL access of your Jenkins. And then every time there is something going to be triggered on the main branch, it's actually going to be triggered to the Jenkins. And from Jenkins is a software which actually going to, where you're going to write your own script, which actually going to build and deploy your applications without doing anything. Everything is going to be automatically like automated. That's why it is called as continuous integrations and continuous developer. Okay, I hope that part is clear. I'm just going to come back. So we now know like we have two branches and I'm the DevOps engineer. I'm working on this thing. I'm just going to provide with the verbose so that I can see some more details. And the star stands for the pointer where I am currently, which branch I'm currently in. So let's just move to the deploy branch. So to move to the deploy branch, there is a two option. Either you can use git switch or either you can use git checkout. I'm going to use the git checkout through this workshop. So I just type git checkout and I'm just going to type deploy. So I switched to the different branch. How can I verify? I'm just going to go back to the same command, and now you can see the star has been moved to up. That means now the pointer is not pointing to the master branch, it's actually moved to the deploy branch. Okay, so now I'm in the deploy branch, and if I'm just going to see what's inside this directory, I have noticed like there are scripts and everything, but these are actually developed or built by the master branch, not by me. I'm going to create my own pipelines or anything. Whatever you are, like if you are a developer or a student, you're actually going to create your own repository, because if you're going to put everything like merging to the master branch, maybe you get some issues if somebody is going to download those and run it on a local system or something happen. So that's the reason we always prefer, if you're doing some kind of a testing or something, always try to have multiple different branches. Okay, so let's just create a new directory with the code mkdir, which stands for the mk stands for make and dir stands for directory. And I'm just going to create make directory with the name. What should I put the name? Okay, I'm just going to put the Jenkins. Okay, so I just created a new folder. And since I mentioned earlier as well, if I'm just going to check Git status, it's not going to recognize by Git right now because I have created an empty directory. It's only showing me the server stop file, which is untrackable because we didn't add it yet. But if you notice now, like in the Jenkins, which is the empty folder, that's the reason why it is not detectable by Git. Once I'm going to add something inside the Jenkins folder, it's going to be detectable by Git. So rather wasting your time, let's just go inside this. I'm going to clear my screen. Um, I'm just going to open and create Jenkins file. Okay, I again open a text editor. It can be Nano, Notepad++, anything. Since I'm working on the command line, that's the reason I prefer this one rather than going here and creating and then putting the same things over there. Okay, so this is the Jenkins file. You don't need to worry about like what this files. It can be anything like Python, Java, whatever your main language you're working on. It is basically like you working on multiple languages for a project or something and you want to collaborate. Okay, so this is the file which I have already down. Let's just go back and see with the status command. Now you can see Jenkins is recognized. Now why it is recognized? Because now I added something inside that empty folder. Earlier it was only empty. That's the reason Git is never recognized. Okay, so I have added the folder. What's the command to add to the server? It's automatically showing me to use the git add command. Okay, since I didn't provide the server stop file to the master branch, I'm going to add it to the deploy branch. The reason why, because deploy branch is not connecting to the Jenkins server or to the any pipeline. So if anything, I'm doing changes or doing some testing, nothing going to be happen, because main branch is the main, or the master branch is the main branch where everything is going to be triggered if I already connected the GitHub account with some of the cloud services. But currently I have working on the deploying branch, so I don't need to worry about. So now I want to add everything. Before adding, I'm thinking of a one more concept which really important for you guys. There is one more thing which is called Git Ignore. What is a Git Ignore? I'm just going to show you. Git Ignore. Let me just create inside this Jenkins folder. Okay, so I'm currently inside the Jenkins folder where we have the Jenkins file. Now assume like I just create one Python file. Okay, so Python test server file. I'm just creating this file, and I'm just going to provide like the import pandas something. I'm just writing it as np. It's just a basic. I'm just writing some file which have nothing. Test version. Okay, so I have finished my editing. I'm just going to save this file. Before this file, let me do one thing. I'll just going to add the signature of this file. Okay. Yep. Okay. Three test. Okay. So what I have done right now, I have created two files. One is the Python test server file, and another file is the Python test.txt file. Now, what I exactly want, like my developer who's working on the GitHub repository, he said, Mohit, can you just provide me the file, all the files you have already completed. But I realized there is a text file, this file, I didn't finish yet. I was working on this one because I was writing some script, but I didn't finish. And the developer wants me to send, push all the changes, whatever the script I have written. He wants to see what I have build or what I've written in the scripts. But I don't want to send this file because I didn't finish. So what I going to do, I'll just going to create a git ignore file. If you remember at the starting of the this when we creating a new repository in GitHub, there is an option of three things. First one is the readme file, which is actually provide you the description. Second one is the git ignore file, and the third one is the licensing. So now this is the time I'm just going to ignore this file. How will I going to ignore this file? Using the git ignore command. Git.ignore. It's the git ignore. Sorry, what I'm writing. Okay, so vi is again it's a editor which I'm using, and then I'm providing the git ignore. This is the file I'm just creating, and in this file I want like any text file in my particular Jenkins folder. I don't want to send it or push it uh, to the GitHub. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to first insert. I'm using the regular expression where star represent anything with the file name A to Z, 1 to 4, any numerical or alphabet number. And it's going to be like any file, like this file with txt, this file with the txt. Any file like this is going to be ignored by Git now. And I'm going to show you right now how. And the star is basically standing for like any alphabet or numerical value with ending with the extension of .txt. So that's it, very simple. Okay, so I just added this file. So now you can see there is a git ignore file. Let's see the git status. If I run the git status command. And from that git status, if I get this file, that means my git ignore file is not correct. But if running the git status command, it is ignored by git, that means I have written the right thing. So let's just see what's happened. So now you can see it is actually only saying about the server and the dot. I think you guys are not going to see from here. Let's just go back. It's going to show you the Jenkins thing. So from here, you're not going to see. Okay. From here, it's going to show you Jenkins. So, okay, no worries. What I'm going to do, we're going to push it to the server and see whether this file is going to be pushed or not. But I don't want this file to be pushed to the server because I don't even finish the script inside this txt file. And inside the git ignore, I have already provided the feature like I want to ignore this file. I'm going to add now everything. Okay. Git, let's first see which branch I am using the verbose, which actually show me more description. I'm currently on the deploy. That's good because I don't want to push everything to the master branch right now. Okay. And if we see the git status with the -v, again, I just want to see more description. So we can see there is two files, Jenkins and scripts. Inside the Jenkins file, we have three files. One is the Jenkins file, Python test server, Python test.txt. But if I'm going to use here as well, you can see there is a git ignore file, which actually telling git ignore the txt file, any file which end with .txt extension. Okay, let me just come back. And now I'm going to using the dot command. Okay, so I'm using the dot command to add everything now because I want to add everything. Let's just check the git status. Is it add everything? Yes, it add everything. But if you see here, git actually ignore the file, which is the txt file. This is the file is actually ignored by git. You can easily see like here, git already added all the files, but there is no file with the name python-test.txt because I provided in the git ignore this file. That's a good thing because I don't even finish my script yet. Why should I going to push it to the server, which is in our case is a GitHub. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I have already made the status. I already added. I'm just going to commit the message. So remember, we are working from the deploy. We are not on the master branch now. Okay. So whatever the changes we are making, it's going to be on the deploy branch. It's not going to be on the master branch. So I'm just going to add the Jenkins folder. Then what I have done, I have written some scripts. That's more than enough for me. Now I have commit. Every file in the Git is actually untrackable until unless you check the status. Once you check the status, Git will going to tell you that you have some untracked files. And from that untracked files, we find out there are two untracked files. Then you're going to add them files. Either always my recommendation, add like a file by file, don't add everything. But in our case right now, like I want to add everything. That's the reason I use git add dot. Dot means stands for the current directory, whatever inside this current directory, add everything. So, and then we check the status. It's actually show us like there is a, all the files apart from the python.txt file because of the, I already provide in the git ignore to ignore this file. That's the reason it is not there. And now if I'm going to push, now you have to remember, if I'm going to put only git push, it's saying there is nothing to commit because actually what happened, whatever the changes I have made, it's actually made it through the deploy branch. It's not from the master branch. I have to provide the name of the branch now because we are no more on the master branch. So I have to provide the origin. Origin is the same because we are working on the same GitHub repository. If you're working with the multiple different GitHub repository, then you have to provide the whole origin. But in our case, it's the same repository, but there are different branch names. So I'm just going to change the branch name. Simple. So I'm just going to add deploy branch name. Now, GitHub is so smart. Once I'm going to trigger everything. I have pushed everything to the server. It automatically going to show me there is the new branch name. See, once I finish my changes, within less than a few seconds, I receive the maintainer or the owner of this GitHub repository actually get a notification, or you can say, hey, somebody add deploy branch and has made some changes inside this. Now you have two options. Either you can compare and push it to the master branch. So if I'm just going to push it, compare, create a pull request. Before a pull, I just want to show you like there are only one branch right now. Okay. Now, until unless I'm going to compare and pull request, it is not going to be reflected here. So let's just go here and say, yeah, everything's looks correct. Let's just create a pull. Now, the maintainer is going to check everything. I use the Git Guardian here to check if anything like vulnerability issue or security issues in terms of this branch, if I'm going to add. Maybe you see all these things or not, I'm not sure. So now you can see all the checks has been passed and this branch has no conflict with the base branch. Now, if I'm going to be reload here, you will see two branches. See? But if you notice, like we have created the Jenkins file folder and we have other files. There is nothing here like on this folder because everything whatever we have done, we worked on the deploy branch. So if you go switch to the deploy branch, you will see all the folders, and inside this folder we added the Git Ignore file, which contained .star.txt. That means ignore the .txt file version. You can add like if you don't want to add any script, particular file names or anything. So this is really good command. You should know about the Git Ignore. And now you can see like inside this repository on the deploy branch, we have the Jenkins script as well as the test DSC. I hope that part is clear. In the master branch, we don't have anything, but with the deploy branch, we have 3 folders. Because I was working on this is a testing branch. I don't want to like put anything to the main branch because assume the main branch is actually configured with some of the cloud services where you literally don't want to put anything until unless you know everything is compatible and tested. Okay. And now you can see like everything is with the, we already pull request, everything is done. This is the same way actually worked in the open repository. If you open anything, like I'm just going to show you one of the, from here I can show you right now. Just give me a second. I'm just going to search Docker. So it's actually searching in my one, all GitHub. Just give me a second. Let's just go here. And I'm just going to show you some of the open public repository. So like if you see the Docker is another company who have their own GitHub repository, and they have so many GitHub repository with the AWS, Awesome, Compose, and there's so many different branches they have. Like you can see like they have 81 branches, and you can see these are the patch, different versions, branch names with their initial commit ID. And if you really want to like collaborate with them, so what you are going to do, you actually going to either SSH. Now they have the GitHub CLI, which they launched in early November. So you have the GitHub CLI if you want to use, but I prefer with the Git because it's so powerful. So I prefer go for the SSH, so you don't have to provide master or your password every time you push anything. So this is the maintainer. This is not owned by me. So if I'm just going to copy, if they have so many scripts files, if I open something, I realize that they have some issues. These are the issues. You can create your own issues. I get to know this issue I can fix. So what you will going to do, you're going to download the repository, you're going to work on it, and you will not going to, it's not going to appear until unless like the same way I pulled request here. Once the maintainer is actually going to pull, then it's going to be show here. If the maintainer decide like whatever the code edited by Mohit is not fitting to the system or to the version, to the updated version, then maybe the maintainer is the owner of this bucket, who is not able to going to pull a request, and you can see that there are so many 72 pull requests is waiting. Like the people are actually asking them to pull something because we made some changes. And see here, you see some of the tech like ticks and some of the cross, because there are some of the bots who's actually checking what's wrong with this pull request when it's going to be merged to the main one. So you can see like there are some bugs, some checks are positive, some are no. You can see like there are Jenkins for using the continuous integration. So this is how whole things works. Okay, let's just come back to the our main topic, which is the GitHub. I hope like now you understand like how the whole things works, why we are using GitHub. Is nothing, it's just for storing your code. Apart from that, it's doing nothing. All the things is actually managing, creating branches, everything actually by your Git. Okay, which is not owned by GitHub, so don't assume that. Okay, so now we have like .git Jenkins script folder, and I already show you our branches. We have deploy and master branch. Now I create one more branch with the name Docker. Uh, let's just create a pipeline. So if you want to create a new branch, you're just going to provide with the name Git Branch Pipeline. So I just created a branch. How will I going to check? You can just check. Now, even if you see, the pointer is actually pointing to the deploy branch, but not to the pipeline, because now there is a different person who's working on different branch. So what I'm going to do now I'm going to go switch to the pipeline branch. So using the Git checkout pipeline, if I'm going to type, it's going to I switch to the pipeline branch. And now I'm just going to create a new directory called Docker file. Inside this directory, I'm just going to create, using the text editor, I'm just going to create one file called Docker file. I have already written the file. You don't need to worry about like what this file is actually doing. Its main purpose is just to explain like how the GitHub works with the branches and everything, and what this different branch actually means. Okay, so this is the Docker file which I have already created for you guys. So now the file has been created. Now what we're going to do, we're going to see the Git status. You can see there is an untrackable file is been noted by the this thing, by the Git system. So let's just go back to see more better way like how this is see using verbose. So you can see this is the Docker file, which inside we have some of the files. And one more thing, the Git Ignore I have created inside the Jenkins folder. So if now I'm going to create one text file here, uh, test version 2 for txt file, and I'm going to say this is the demo version 2 file. Okay, so now I created this file outside the Jenkins folder, but my Git Ignore command is actually inside the Jenkins folder. If we go inside the Jenkins folder, you will see the Git Ignore file, which is the hidden file. So you can see this file is actually residing inside the Jenkins folder. It's not on the test DSC repository. It's not here, right? So now if I'm going to do the status check, it is actually going to be recognized by the Git system, because there is no ignore file who's telling Git that ignore the txt file, because I already provide the Git ignore file inside the Jenkins. So its boundary or the permission is going to be valid until unless it's not going to be inside the particular folder. It's not going to be global, it's going to be local to that particular folder. The restrictions or the permissions, you can consider that. Okay, let's just clear the screen and see the Git status again. Now you can see there are two files. One is the Docker file, another one is the test version 2.txt file. And since now there is another person who's working on this branch, and we get to know there is a person who's another than DevOps or something, maybe site reliability engineer who's working on some pipeline. I'm not sure. So that's the person who's created the pipeline, because he need to create some pipelines or create some Docker container images. You don't need to worry about right now what is Docker or something. We just creating some of the files inside that particular branches. Okay, so this is the file we have. Now what we're going to do, we already add the status. So Git is telling me, hey, you have to add the file. This is an untrackable file. So from moving the untrackable to the trackable, you have to provide the command. This time I'm just going to provide Docker with the file name Docker. And second one is the test version. I don't want to add everything. I just want to add whatever the files actually I made changes. So I'm just going to add these two files. I didn't add everything. Rather than using dot, I always said use the particular file names or the folders you want to add to the server. Because if it's not even finished what you are doing, no point of just pushing to the server. So now you can see we have added the file. So once we add it, we're going to commit. And I'm going to provide the name that added the Docker file and created test version 2. Okay, so I just commit the message. The anytime you want to see, it's basically you're not going to see your messages. The people who's actually going to download your repository, they will going to understand what this person is actually done in the past in this repository or in this particular branch. That's in the case you will going to see the git log command. So you can see I'm currently heading to the pipeline. You can see there are commits messages about author me because I'm the only one. But if there are several different people are working, you will see a bunch of different people's names and their email IDs, what time they actually put something, what commit message they have provided on that thing. Okay, so that's fine. Now let's just push. Now, since I'm on the pipeline branch, I cannot run only git push. Git push only works when you are in the master branch or in the main branch. Okay. So now I have to provide the origin. Origin is the same because I'm working on the same GitHub repository. And then I'm just going to add the branch name, which is the pipeline. You don't need to add, just type tab. It's going to be automatically filled for you by Git. Then just add, and now we just go back to the server, which is our case in the GitHub. And you can see like GitHub automatically recognize that pipeline is a new branch has been uh, recently pushes here. Similarly, you can see it's now the maintainer, who is in my case is myself. It's my responsibility whether I want to add this file, like this particular branch, to the main branch or not. If you're going to hit on this URL right now, you will only going to see two of the files until unless I'm actually going to add them. Similarly, way like there are so many pull requests, it's completely up to the maintainer who will going to wants to add the files or not, like to the branches or not. So I'm just going to compare and pull request, and I'm going to say works fine, and let's just create a pull request. Okay, it's checking everything is fine. There is no security threats, there is nothing security breach, so everything works fine. We can check the show all. I already configured the Git Guardian security checks, which actually going to check me if any security threat or security breach while adding this branch to my particular public repo of the GitHub, the one which I created. So I already created right now. Now after you created the branch, there you have got two options. Like you can see now there are three branches are showing. This is the default branch with the name master. We have deploy and pipeline. In the master branch, we only have the script which we created like half an hour ago, maybe, or even more. I don't even remember. And inside that start server script, we only provide the server start script. But everything we are actually doing on the deploy branch or on the where we have the Jenkins file and the script file. But in the pipeline file, we have the Docker folder as well, because there is another person who's working on this file, who's working on some kind of containing some images or something, is working on the container images. But on the main branch, there is nothing like this. So for example, if I was inside the Docker file, and now if I switch to the master branch, it's going to show me the error because there is no Docker file. That's the reason it's showing us the error. If I go back, it's going to move back to the pipeline. And again, if I have to go to the master, I have to come out because there is no Docker folder inside the master branch. That's the reason it's saying us the 404 error. Okay. So now this is all done. Now, if you see like, oh, everything's fine. Now you have the options, like you have created the branches, you have worked on it, you have done all the integration testing, everything is working fine. Now the maintainer or the owner of the GitHub or any other code repositories services like Bitbucket, AWS code repository, or your GitLab. So basically the owner or the maintainer will going to it's up to him whether he wants to merge the pull request to the main branch. If you said merging is allowed, everything is going to be merged. And now it's up to you whether you want to delete the pipeline branch or you want to leave it. Now, if I'm going to the main branch in the test DSC, you will see in the master branch everything. So now you can see like there are other folders like Jenkins folder and Docker file is already been added. I'm I hope that part is clear. That's very simple and easy to follow. Okay, I'm just going to show you one more thing, and then we're going to finish it up because, as we said, it's going to be from 6 to 7:30. I don't want to waste your more time. One thing which I would like to show you one more thing. Currently, we've done it manually from the GitHub repository. What if you don't even want to open the GitHub? You want to do it from here. So there's a way through that. You're just going to run a one simple command. So before running the command, I'm just going to create one more branch and we're going to move it so that you can revise what we have done. Okay, so currently, let's just clear everything. Okay, so let's just see ls-lh is nothing, just listing with the long format with the A stands for the hidden directories and H stands for the human readable. So that you can like easily readable what files and folders we have. All the Linux systems, based systems actually work like this. So if I'm just going to type ls, it's actually just going to show me, but it's not going to show me any hidden folders. Like it's not showing the .git here because that's git.git is actually the hidden folder. Okay, so let's just see which branch I am currently. Currently, I'm on the pipeline, and now I'm just going to create a new branch with the Git branch test version. I'm creating a new branch, but if I'm just going to check the branch, it's actually created a new branch, but that branch has empty. So let's just switch back to the Git test version branch. Git checkout, using the Git checkout, you will going to move to the different branch. So I move to the Git switch to the branch. And now if I'm going to again check the branch with the verbose, which actually show you more detailed information, you can see now we move to the pointer is actually pointing to the star, which is actually pointing to the test version. Okay, so at any point you want to see the logs, you can always see, but I want to show you what's the main thing, like how it beautiful log you can see. So before doing that, I'm just going to create one new folder, test server. I just created a test server. I'm going inside that server. It's completely empty right now because we have nothing inside. So I'm just going to write a one script. Script 2, I'm just writing something like this, starting with the bin bash. You don't need to worry about like what the scripts are actually doing. I'm just going to say, hello, DSC peeps. Very simple. Okay. So now we have put this file. If I'm going to check the status, it's actually going to show you the status. There is an untrackable file. I'm going to go back and I'm just going to check from here so that you can actually see there is the folder is created by the local repository of my system. And Git didn't added this file. So even if I'm going to do any commit or something, it's automatically saying that you have nothing to commit because everything is already commit. So first we're going to add the file. So go inside the file and there is a script file too, which I just added. Now, if I'm going to check the Git status, it's actually going to show me there is only one file I added. And maybe we have so many files. I'm not going to waste time in creating more scripts files inside the test server. So currently we are on the branch test version branch, and we have created, we have added, we have checked the status. Now let's commit it. uh, Test script has been redone. Okay, so I just commit the message and I want to push it. But before push it, I want to add a tag on this. So the Git tag is actually telling you, or to the people who's actually using your GitHub repository, to tell them that you have made something very several change, very major change in your GitHub repository. So how to add a tag with the Git tag? Then you have to provide -a for the annotated, and then you will going to provide the version, what version you want to provide. Like I'm just going to say 0.1 version. This is the one version, and I already configured my nano editor. If you want to see like how to configure your by default, you have to watch our earlier video in which I have already show like how to configure the text editor. So just for now, I'll just assume I already configured the text editor. So I'm just going to write something like this is the tag version 0.1, and I'm just going to save. Let's just come out. So now I have added this tag to the this particular major change. I'm assuming like for example, like in iOS or in Android or in any application, there are some major release. So it's the Git tag is also work like similar way, where you have like you create your tags so that you can actually tell people that you have made some several major changes. And I believe if you run the git log, you will going to see the tag version. So you can see here as the tag version as well, like what this tag is all about. So I have already added the tag. So let's just clear, and we remember like we have created one test server folder. Inside that folder we have added everything, and with the git status command it's saying everything because I already commit the message but I didn't push it. Before push it, I have added the tag. So now if I'm going to push, I don't remember my branch name, so let me just check the branch first, which branch I am currently. Although the git status command is actually telling me there is a test version branch I am currently in, but still I want to see by myself. So let's just run, and you can see with the verbose to more detail. So now we can see we are on the test version. So git push, then you're going to provide origin. Origin is nothing, I tell earlier as well. Origin is stands for basically the URL of where is your repository, and then you will going to provide the branch name, which is in our case test version. Now I have provided the git push origin test version. Now everything is good. If we go to the GitHub, we can see this thing. Now what I want to do, I want to switch back to the master branch. How will I going to switch back? I'm just going to switch back to the Git checkout master. So now I switch back to the master branch, and if I'm going to check the branch -v, it's actually going to switch back. The pointer is pointing to the master branch. Whatever the branch where you want to merge the two default branches, you have to come to that branch. So what I want right now, whatever the changes I have made in the test version branch, I wanted to merge to the master branch, because assume like I have done all the testing and everything is done. Now I wanted to merge it to the master branch. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to type git merge, and then you're going to type the name of the branch. So now I have git merge to the test version. So if we go to the GitHub, will you going to see everything if I'm going to reload? I don't think so I'm going to see. The reason why we are not going to see anything, although we have everything merged, everything is done, but it's still not going to be represented, like it's nothing going to show because there is no test version folder here. If you see here, we have the test version folder, which we just created. I'm just going to show you again so that you see there is a test server folder but there is no test server folder here right now, although we already merged it. But the reason why, because we didn't push it. This is a local changes, whatever you're making, you have to push it to the server as well. So now I have done everything. Now I'm going to push. Since I'm on the master branch, I don't need to provide the origin and master. If I'm going to run push, if it's going to work, that's good. If it's not, that means it's saying there is an updation by somebody on the GitHub branch. What I mean, like right now, some another person assume working on the same branch and put something to the server. So you have to pull it back all the latest changes from the particular branch. GitHub never going to like, for example, two persons are working congruently or on the same time to the different branches on the same repo, but somebody, for example, put something and push it to the server. Another person is currently working on something and then he tried to push it. GitHub will going to deny the push permission because GitHub will going to say, hey, somebody has pushed something and there are some changes on the GitHub repository. So you have to download the latest code. Then you will going to push it. So similarly, way here it is saying the updates were rejected because the remote contain works that you do not have locally. There are some works is actually available on the GitHub repository, which is not in my system. Or they're also saying there may be some another person who's working on the same time. So what I'm going to do, using the git pull command, I'm going to use the SSH key again. And now I'm going to add the same thing. It's again open my same thing. I'm not going to add anything. Let's just close the editor. Now everything is up to date. If you can see, if I'm going to run now the git push command, it's going to work because whatever the I have on the GitHub, now it's on my local system. So you can see now the command works easily without any issue. And now if I'm going to work here, probably you will going to see the test server. You can see all the errors, everything going to be vanished, and we can see the test server also available. And now you can see all the different, we have created like 4 branches, we have switched between them. Now you can see there is no tags like right now. And one more thing, like you can go inside the insights, you can see who pulled the request, and there are also the dependency and the network graph. You can see about the graphs as well, like what this graph is telling you about, like which owner or which user actually push or pull or create something new branches, what they have done. And the same thing you can see from the GitHub, like a CLI as well, or from the Git CLI using the git log graph. I'm not even sure. I'm just going to tell -h, and I think it's the command is called graph. If it's going to work, then it's you are so lucky. Maybe -graph. Yes. So git log -graph is actually going to show you the graph. Like you can see the red stands for the origin master. And then there are, we at this commit, we have created a new branch, which is called the pipeline. There is another branch called the test version. There we have another branch called pipeline. And there is a branch called deploy. You can see about the graphs as well. So that's it from my side. Like I hope you guys understand something about like Git, how actually work, and the main reason why we don't push anything to the main uh, repository, like to the main branch, because most of the time, most of the companies actually configured this branch to the different cloud services where they are running the servers, where they actually integrating with different clouds or continuous integration application, so that everything, whatever they're going to make any changes by any developer on this branch, it's going to be triggered on their AWS or any cloud services through which they're going to deploy or run the application. So that's the reason we create different branches for testing and everything. I hope that's it from my side. Thank you, guys.
Mohit, Amreen had a question.
Yep.
If an Ubuntu terminal can be used in Linux or can it be used in Windows as well?
You can use it. Actually, I'm going to show my screen again, Amreen. Now, since nobody's not too many people, so you can ask question directly if you want. For the Windows people, there is a WSL thing is there. The WSL stands for the Windows subsystem for Linux. So this is the actual owned by Microsoft. This is for the people who are actually using Windows, but they want to get a feel of Linux. So once you're going to install the WSL2, it's actually come, but you have to just read the document. It is very simple. And what you will going to do, you go to your app store, the Microsoft App Store, and then you will going to install the Ubuntu. And the WSL will going to do everything for you, the Windows subsystem for Linux. And then you can actually run Linux on the top of Windows, or whatever the changes you want to do, like everything you can do it. I also use it like last year. It's really good, but it has some of the issues like when you're going to work with the Docker or Kubernetes kind of stuff. But for Linux, normal getting a practice about Linux or something, it's really great. You can use it.
So is like WSL2 a part of the Ubuntu, or
No,
is it?
it's actually since most of the Windows users having a complaint to the Microsoft, like they are not giving them the feel, because if you are using CMD, it's not powerful, it's not give you everything, right? So that's the reason Microsoft has created their own Windows subsystem for Linux. They developed by their own .NET developers, so you can actually trust them. And most of the time, you just need to do nothing, just upgrade to the latest Windows version. They have something like 1904 or 1905 version. Once you have that version, then you just go to your control panel. You will find an option to enable the WSL2. You don't have to download anything else, and it's going to be configured. Then you will just going to open. All the details are available on this page. You can. I'm just going to send it on the chat as well, so you can just have a look if you want. Yeah.
Okay, thanks for that.
No worries.
Did you have any additional questions?
So I noticed like you were using some commands like exclamation, bin, bash.
Yep.
Are those like part of what we're supposed to do for like Git, or was this some additional?
That's additional. That's nothing related to Git. Basically, what happened is like when you work on the GitHub, there is not a single language you're going to work on. There are a bunch of different language: Python, Java, C++, Docker files, Jenkins, Kubernetes file, YAML file. There are so many things are there. So the scripts are basically written so that when you actually going to trigger it from the master branch, it's going to be run. You don't have to write anything or do manual steps. That's the main point of scripts. So,
Oh,
but
okay.
for the Git thing, you literally don't have to worry about like what these things are doing. It's just for the demonstration purpose. I just want to show all the different Git branches and everything.
Okay, so like the script files are like codes and stuff that you have that you want to like
Yes.
push to your server. Okay.